Hey, worship band. Welcome back to this fourth session on music theory for worship band. We've discussed a variety of musical theory topics over the past few weeks, but I think today's topic is one of the most helpful for those of you who play instruments that can play chords. So, not instruments that play single notes, but instruments that play chords. If you master this concept, you'll be able to play better by ear. You'll be able to read chord charts and lead sheets much better because you won't be guessing what chords come next. You'll see that this musical formula helps you reduce the number of possibilities so that you can anticipate what comes next without having to guess. So let's take a look at this chart. Let me explain it a little bit first. On the left side, I have one row of Roman numerals. Those of us who have taken a lot of music lessons, classical music, a more traditional way, are used to using Roman numerals. There's also a row of numbers. You may have heard it called the Nashville number system. And then right here we have a row of keys, and these are musical keys going down the page from there. So back to the Roman numerals row, you'll notice that some of the Roman numerals are uppercase, some of the Roman numerals are lowercase. The Roman numerals that are uppercase represent chords that are major, like C major or F major or G major. Those are major chords. They sound bright and happy to our ear. The Roman numerals that are lowercase represent chords that are minor in tonality. Those are chords like D minor or A minor. They kind of sound sad and somber and reflective. Those are minor chords. Now, I'd have to say something about the seventh scale position because it is lowercase and it also has this little circle up there, which means that the seventh scale position is what's called diminished. So it's kind of like a minor chord with another minor chord on top almost. It's hard to describe. We don't use it a lot in worship music. In the row that's called numbers, you can see that a number without any letter next to it is a major chord or represents a major chord. A number with an M next to it represents a minor chord. And then again, over here in the seventh spot, we have that little circle, which means diminished. So, how does this help us? This is a formula, a musical formula that works across every key. So, take a look. Let's just look at the numbers row. How about that? The first scale position, for instance, in the key of C, is a major chord. The chord built on the first scale position is a major chord. The chord built on the second scale position is a minor chord. The chord built on the third scale position is a minor chord. The chord built on the fourth scale position is a major chord. The chord built on the fifth scale position is a major chord. The chord built on the sixth scale position is a minor chord. The chord built on the seventh scale position is a fully diminished chord. Now, I'll try to color code these a little bit. The chords that are major, that is, those happy, bright sounding chords, I put in red columns. So we have the one chord is a major chord. The four chord is a major chord. The five chord is a major chord. That helps us in a lot of ways because when we're playing music, say we're playing in the key of C, the chords that we're going to use most are the major chords. They're the ones that sound happy and bright, the major tonality chords. So if we're in the key of C, we're mostly going to play the C chord, the F chord, and the G chord. But those aren't our only options. We also have some other options as well. And I've listed those in the blue columns. So if we're in the key of C, the chords that are likely to happen, in addition to the major chords, are the 2 minor, which in this case is D minor, or the 6 minor, which is A minor. The chords that could happen but aren't very likely to happen are on the third scale position, in this case, the E minor, or the one on the seventh position, which in this case is the B fully diminished. So if you're playing a worship song in the key of C, you can expect mostly to play C, F, and G. What might happen in addition to those? Probably D or A, D minor or A minor. And that takes out probably the possibility of playing this E minor chord or this B diminished chord. It helps you know what's coming next. Now, the great thing about this chart, I've only done it for a few musical keys, but you could do this for all the musical keys and anticipate, know in advance what chords are on the table if you're in any particular key. So, for instance, here's the key of G. In the key of G, we know that the major tonality chords are the ones we're going to play most. G, C, D. What minor chords might we expect in the key of G? Probably A minor and E minor. We could do the same thing for the key of D. Which chords are we going to play the most in the key of D? The major tonality chords. So D, G, and A. The one chord, the four chord, and the five chord. What minor chords might we play? In the key of D, we probably could anticipate playing an E minor chord and a B minor chord, or if you want to think about it in numbers, 2 minor and 6 minor. I don't want to belabor the point, but if you master this skill, it will help you immensely. One other thing I want to talk about are chords with non-chord tones. And here's what I mean by that. In Western music, we play chords built on thirds. That's called a triad. So when we play a C chord, for instance, we make that chord, the building blocks for that chord are the notes C, which is the first scale position, E, which is the third scale position, and G, the fifth scale position. That's a triad. Sometimes, though, there are extra notes that are added to those three notes, and those are called non-chord tones. And the two most common for us in doing worship music are seven chords and suspended chords. So there are two types of seven chords. The first is a dominant seven chord. You're used to seeing that in your worship chord charts. You might see like a G7 chord, for instance, in the key of C. If you see a G7 chord in the key of G, you know that's a dominant seven chord. G7 usually leads us right back to the chord with the name of the key. So that would be C. G7 in the key of C normally leads us back to the C chord. That's just how it works. But there's another kind of seven chord that we see a little less frequently, and those are called major seven chords. Major seven chords sound different than dominant seven chords. Major seven chords sound kind of jazzy. It just adds a little color. But the other type of chord that you're apt to run into are called suspended chords, and you'll see those on your chord chart identified as maybe you might see a C sus. A C sus is a C suspended chord. And what that means is there's a note in there that doesn't belong in the chord. Usually that means it's the fourth scale position that's added. So if you're on a C chord, C, D, E, F, F doesn't belong in a C chord. And so it's a suspension that you can feel the tension building and then it resolves downward back to the E. Once it resolves, you have the chords that, or the notes that belong in the chords, C, E, and G. So those are seven chords and suspended chords. I know this is a lot for us to think about, but if you master these concepts, if you understand that the chords you're going to use most in any key are the one chord, the four chord, and the five chord, and the minor chords that you're apt to encounter in any musical key are the two chord and the six chord, then that will unlock a whole world of playing. so that you're not playing just by ear, but you're anticipating what comes next. You're not playing just by the notes that are on the chord chart, but you know what belongs there. And also recognizing the chords with non-chord tones, like seven chords and suspended chords, that will help you know what's going on. All right. It's been a joy to go through this journey with you. God bless you, and we'll see you soon.